There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19.
Furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this podcast.
This is a That's Entertainment podcast.
Awesome. Just tell people they're awesome and mean it.
Awesome.
Did you have an awesome time? Did you drink awesome shooters and listen to awesome music and then just sit around and soak up each other's awesomeness?
Awesome. That was awesome.
You guys are awesome.
No,
You're awesome.
no.
You are awesome.
Sir, you are awesome. Seriously.
Awesome. Awesome.
Everything is awesome.
We have 45 minutes.
I say we'll hit record, right? I'll start recording. This way we don't miss any of the comedy gold that we're going to be spitting up here.
That's a good point.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you see Batista at WrestleMania? How he was trying to get into the ring and he face planted?
No, he face planted.
His foot got caught on the ropes.
Batista.
I really don't want that to be me.
Batista is a little what's the
Exuberant.
ring rusts?
Oh, yeah.
Ring
Yeah,
rusts,
that for sure.
Man. That's what Hollywood does to you guys. But yeah, once people start trickling in, we'll officially kick it off. But right now, we're just gonna talk so that people hear us and are like, "Hey, there's something going on in there."
I want to check out that panel with
Hey.
all the empty chairs.
Those guys are sitting in couches.
This is the Ghost Cast.
When you first sent me the picture of this room,
You're like, no.
I was like, no. So, other mic, this mic sent me we gotta figure something out. Mike D.
Yeah, just call me D'Angelo.
D'Angelo, there you go. So when D'Angelo sent me the pictures of this panel room, I'm like, they must have switched the numbers up because that looks like where John
Wesley. Not Weasley. Wesley.
That looks like where he's going to be. Like, there's fancy couches.
I guess they didn't really mind throwing us in here because it's the first one.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you've got all week.
Yeah.
So he's got tomorrow and Sunday.
This is
as well.
the panel that I didn't think anyone would say yes to be honest. And they did. But we got a very slow trickle of people coming in. It looks like they're
checking bags.
this is like a great spot to do a panel.
It's like Mystery Science Theater, but for the people coming into the building.
Yeah. Like,
Hey, check out this guy with his camo shirt.
I feel like the first 10 minutes of this panel, because we said we'll go to 125, right?
Yeah, we'll go to
Okay.
125. So then we
Before
got
we
35
officially
minutes.
kick the panel off.
Yeah.
I can't wait till this is turned into podcasting and I don't know what you're gonna do, Mike, but when I do something like this, when D'Angelo and I do live shows, I usually do a pre-intro, or I guess a post-intro it's called, after the fact. So there's going to be a lot of explanation.
Yeah, my brother and I are probably going to hop on tonight and do a kind of a recap of what happened, and then we'd like to run the audio from this with that intro on it. But this is my first live one.
So you've never done a live podcast before?
I have not done a live podcast before. I've done a lot of podcasts before, but I have not done a live one yet.
Baptism by empty seats.
Candlelight?
By candlelight, I like it. By sparks.
Yeah, live shows are great, and something that I came to love last year was the panels. Doing these panels, that's something that this was our first panel last year. It was our Marvel panel that we did, and it gave me a jolt. I almost quit live podcasting last year.
I had no idea.
And then all because of the festival that we did in January of 2018, because the one I got really, 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 really hammered.
That was a good time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you had a guy who came on to you and you were like, yeah, we're fine. We'll get into that later.
Maybe.
How's it
Welcome
going?
in.
We got one. He's just he's part of he's part of the press, I assume.
He's just being cordial.
Yeah.
He's like, these guys need something.
He sees my press badge. He's like, I feel for that guy. I know we can say that it's because no one's inside the building yet. But
They're in. You can see that line moving now.
Here it comes. Here they come.
Yeah. And like I said, we're just right now. This is part of the panel where, hey, we're opening the show, so let's just kind of not.
We're
talk
opening
about
the whole
anything.
convention.
We're opening the convention.
It's always great when you're scheduled for a time that is before they actually open the doors.
Yeah.
Right. The problem is
full rooms that way.
This was like a very special event, all right? We got to talk before the doors were even open.
Yeah. Here's what happened, okay? They did the schedule, and then they looked and they're like, oh, man, there's one more that applied. We can't be the guys that said no to one panel, right? There's no one going on at 1. Let's put them in panel room 1 so they can see all the people that
won't be able to get in there to hear them.
Potentially could listen to them.
We have important things to say.
We want to talk about movies and why they stink and how we're going to fix them. That's what. And
Well, should we do that? Should we at least for the podcast explain what each one, since we have time?
Yeah.
should we do
So
what each
because
one
there's
of us are
someone in the
gonna do?
press here who's going to, I assume, write glowing reviews.
Sparkling reviews.
And we have this pre-time to do. Yeah. So what we're going to be doing on the for podcast listeners and for our lone press guy out there, this is my podcast. Everything is awesome. Put this together. This is Movie Fixers, where we're going to sit down. Each of us picked a movie that we either liked, loved, or thought could do better, or a combination of all three. And because there's so much negativity in the world, especially when it comes to film, if you follow film Twitter at all, it gets nasty. I'm a big fan of like trying to be positive about things. So one of the there's not many rules to this, but like I want us to name positive things about the movies that we're talking about first and foremost. Then we can talk about the bad things that we did not like. And then if you have anything that you would suggest to fix it, we'll each get about 10 minutes to do that, and then hopefully we'll have questions and answers for a Q&A, is how that's said in... I have done a panel before, guys.
You're just getting the rust off from last year.
Yeah. But we'll do a Q&A and see if anyone has any movies that they would fix. If they and I actually have prizes, baby.
You're going to have to go back into this for the people who hopefully are then sitting in the room and explain it again.
Prizes sounds like there's games.
No, yeah, you ask a good question or a question. You're in the audience.
If you show up, you may get a prize.
Do you want to hear our movie, our prizes? Or should it be a surprise?
Very curious.
This is exclusive press access. The Home Alone 3 film collection, collecting Home Alone 1, 2, Lost in New York, and 3, that doesn't star Macaulay Culkin. We're also giving away, this is based on a true story, guys, Kidnapping Mr. Heineken. It was the perfect crime. This is one of those movies that have a tagline. That,
did you find this, did you go out and specifically look for this, or was this like a gift that you got from I Like to Movie?
Probably I Like the Movie gift. It was the perfect crime until they got away with it.
But doesn't that mean that it stays the perfect crime?
And then this one, we've upgraded from DVD to Blu-ray, DVD, and digital. Super Troopers 2.
That's like the one that really everyone's going to want to go
Grand
for.
prize.
That's a movie that I could have done for this panel.
There you go.
There's some issues with that movie for sure.
I've never watched any of the Super Trooper movies. It's not really my. I don't think it's my cup of tea.
How are you part of
I
film
feel like if
Twitter
you
without
did
I'm not
watch
really
the
part of film
first
Twitter.
one?
If you watch the first one, I feel like you would feel like it was
Maybe.
your cup of tea. It does kind of have like a pseudo Kevin Smith feel to it. Not a totally Kevin Smith feel.
Well,
but
it's the same kind of like potty humor.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
all, and, it's
So maybe I would like
the
it.
first one's awesome.
Yeah.
I really like the first one. I had high hopes for the second one. It's not as bad as people say it is, and I feel like actually, at least Hudson Hawk, the movie that I'm doing today, is not as bad as it says. I should probably introduce myself anyway. I'm Mike from the Recasting Couch, and I'll be doing Hudson Hawk today. And that movie is another one that I think is talked about more poorly than it actually is.
the first one or the second one?
Hudson Hawk?
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
Sorry.
No, the first one. I mean, the second one. The first one, everyone I know loves.
Yeah.
The second one, I don't really know anyone who's seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So
It took too long.
I don't want to get too much into it because I want to save it for when we actually kick off the show in a couple minutes here. But watching Hudson Hawk, from the bits that I did see, it reminds me that Bruce Willis. There was a time he could act. That's not modern day Bruce Willis is the same dude in every movie.
Right.
Yeah, he just turns up for the
In the
paycheck.
80s and 90s,
I will say
good.
this, though. I'm not sure that this is one of the movies that he chooses to act in.
Well,
He's-
he acts. He may not act well.
Right. Well, I mean, I fell in love with him from Moonlighting. Did
Right,
you ever
right,
watch
right.
Moonlight? That show was awesome, and he was great in that. And then he
Yeah.
went on to, the Die Hard franchise and all the other stuff that he did. He's done a lot of crap. He's done a lot of great stuff, and he's just kind of one of those guys.
I just feel like his modern day stuff, it's just all very, very similar. Whereas, like that was very seemed very physical from what I saw.
It was a weird blending of two genres of
Yeah.
comedy and action that kind of hadn't been done before.
Right.
And
Yeah, the only time that was that before or after Big Trouble in Little China?
after, because Hudson Hawk was like
91.
91. I think Big Trouble in Little China was probably around 87. would be
Gotcha.
my guess.
They're very similar in a lot of ways, but I feel like Hudson Hawk is almost like making fun of the genre.
Well, that's what it's supposed
Should
to
we
do.
just
I
start
don't
waving
know.
to people? I'm sorry to cut you guys off.
No,
but
no.
Hey guys, come watch us talk. We promise. For the kids out there, we won't
Just
curse.
put your ear to the window.
If you like movies, come on to panel 1 and come talk movies with us.
Yeah, we're gonna kick things off officially because there is a panel at 2:00, and I don't want to be
Those guys.
the guys that make them not do it. You know what? I just figured out. That's what he's here for.
This isn't cosplay.
The press guy's not
I
even
went
for
front
us.
row
Damn.
for the cosplay.
I thought these guys were dressed up as podcasters.
Cosplaying as a podcaster today. So I think now is probably a good time just so that we can be wrapped up by 2:00 for those guys. So we can kick things off. Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am your host, Kev, and this is the show where we sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. And as you've heard in this, just before I went live here, it sounds like we're doing a panel. That's right, and that's because we are. This week we are going to be airing a panel that we did back in 2019 for the Great Philadelphia Comic Con. Here we are in 2020. The COVID-19 crisis has postponed the Great Philadelphia Comic Con 2020 until later this fall, with, I would imagine, a potential cancellation. We haven't heard anything about Wizard World. We haven't heard anything about Keystone. We haven't heard anything about PAX Unplugged, some of my favorite conventions here in Philadelphia. So because, quite honestly, I'm feeling a little down to the dumps that we're missing all these panels and conventions and stuff. And realistically, the Great Philadelphia Comic Con originally was supposed to be in April of 2020, and it was like within 2 weeks of my wedding, which was originally also scheduled for April. Obviously, that's how time works. And so I wasn't planning on going to this con anyway. That being said, I'm still a little... I'm missing cons, so to celebrate con season even a little bit, we are going to air Mike D'Angelo, who is one of the panelists / co-host of this panel that we're about to air. He conceived this idea called Movie Fixers, where it was going to be a podcast where 2 to 4 of us sat down and picked a movie, and we did some bits and we discussed what we would do to change a movie that maybe we liked, but there were parts that we felt could be tweaked, or movies that we downright did not like, but we had ideas to make it better. We were never able to get the podcast version of that off the ground, but we were able to get it accepted as a panel at the Great Philadelphia Comic Con. So it was really exciting to do this. It was Mike's idea. I kind of just took over as the moderator. That's what I do with these panels. I have a little bit more experience. And it was a lot of fun. We had Mike from the Recasting Couch as our panelist, and it was just a lot of fun to sit around and talk about movies. So without any Great Philadelphia Comic Con stuff going on right now, I wanted to present some of these panels that we recorded in 2019 but we never aired. We have, I think, 3 from the Great Philadelphia Comic Con and 3 from Wizard World that will be airing over the next several weeks. So I'm not going to keep you too long. I'll be back at the end of this to kind of wrap some things up. But big thanks to Mike D'Angelo from the Tellist. He is the spinner of words and worlds over at tellus.com, and then Mike from the Recasting Couch. Thank you guys for being part of this panel. It was our first year in this like really cool room. We talked about it probably before I hopped on here. So let's get right to it. As you heard, we went live as the con doors opened. So what you just heard was us kind of like waiting to get the trickle in of people because it's hard to do a panel when there's no one there. And then when we were running out of time, basically, we decided to get started. So what you're about to hear is the official kickoff of Movie Fixers Live at Philadelphia Comic-Con 2019 with Mike D'Angelo, Mike from the Recasting Couch, and myself right here on Everything is Awesome on awesomepodcast.com. For anyone that's listening in the area, in panel room 1, we're talking movies. This is Everything is Awesome presents Movie Fixers, where 3 guys are going to sit around and talk about movies that could probably be better with just a couple things that are going to get tweaked. Instead of doing formal introductions, since we're running low on time, we'll introduce ourselves as we talk about our movies. So let's kick things off with our guest this week, Mike.
Welcome.
Mike from the Recasting Couch. Just a quick rundown on my podcast. We take our favorite movies and essentially recast them. And we joke a lot along the way. And we,
Very nice.
They're long. But
There goes our host.
So Hudson Hawk. I actually love this movie. But it is universally panned as a pretty bad movie. There is a little bit of a cult thing that goes on with this one. And I think a few tweaks, I mean, of course, to the cast. I brought the cast that we ended up doing for the podcast, because we've already done this on our podcast. We did this a while back. So I have the cast list. It just to give you some idea of how poorly people think of this movie, the Rotten Tomatoes score, the critics gave this a 26.
Oof, that's rough. And that's an old 26, too. That's not a new 26.
Yeah, and then the audience gave it a 56, which is better, but still not good.
Now, for people like me, and it's been probably like 20 years since I've seen it, like what was the movie like, just like a real quick rundown of what the concept was?
I think that's part of the problem, is that no one was really sure what the concept is. But it was essentially an action comedy, right? And it was kind of an early genre action comedy, but it was actually spoofing the whole action genre. That was kind of the idea. And I thought that it played, when I first watched the movie, I thought it was a comic book that they turned into a movie.
Okay.
Because it feels and runs like a comic book. It has villains like a comic book. It has little one-liners. It has set scenes. It really felt like a comic book movie to me. And then I come to find out that this was like a passion project of Bruce Willis.
Yeah. I believe, if I read those opening credits correctly, I don't know if it ties in at the end, an intro to the movie that seems to have nothing to do with the actual movie.
There is like a 15-minute intro to the movie that I wouldn't say has nothing to do with it, but it has very little to do with it. And it could easily be cut and make the movie better. So that was one of my first things I would do, is I would just cut that whole...
Just obliterate that section.
The whole Da Vinci back in his time part, get rid of all of that crap.
I did read that Bruce Willis did the story for this. That was my point initially.
There's also the last scene in the movie where he like finally gets his cup of cappuccino and then throws the cup. Looks like it was done on a flip phone from '99. Like, it really is...
Well, that was good for the time, considering.
Against the quality of the rest of the movie that feels like a real legitimate movie, it's this like weird little scene that's totally not necessary, and they clearly were like, we need to end this piece of crap somehow. So like, fly to Italy, go stand over some beautiful vista, and someone take whatever camera they have in their pocket, and let's get the final scene. It really is that bad. It's really it takes you out right at the end for no reason.
And you like this movie?
I love this movie. I know it's. I mean, objectively, it's garbage. It's a garbage movie. But I love this movie. I really have. I've probably seen this movie 25 times. I love it.
I've tried watching it twice, Hudson Hawk. Now, part of it might be because it was 10 o'clock at night. I had, woken up at 5 a.m., did the whole dad thing, did the whole, coaching baseball thing, fell asleep both nights trying to watch this movie. The first night, before that first 15 minutes is done, because I didn't know what I was watching. That's just my review of the movie. I need to watch it.
It is, if you don't, well, okay, another issue that this movie had, at least from the box office standpoint, is that, because this cost $65 million to make, which I'm not sure where that $65 million went, because if you watch it, it doesn't look like a $65 million movie.
It was a laundering money project.
Yeah, not in $91 either, but it only made $17.5 million. They played, like, the ad campaign for this was that this was going to be a Bruce Willis action movie.
Okay.
And so people show up and it's like comedy and slapstick and everyone's like, what the hell is going on with this movie? One of the things that I think, the number one thing that I think that would make this movie better, I would love to see a guy like Edgar Wright get a hold of this.
Mm-hmm. So like a remade version of this movie? A remade version of this movie, because music is really heavily involved in this movie. Yeah. It has a comic book feel. So if you think of something between Baby Driver and Scott Pilgrim, I think that this movie, I think he could really, really have fun with this genre. Yeah, I think if you like stylize it, I think
100%.
It would pick up really well.
They went for style in certain scenes, and other scenes it was more like a movie. They really were kind of all, it feels like it was directed by like 6 people. Yeah, it's really all over the place. But I don't want to take up too much time, but just to go over some of my casting, I'll give you just the top ones. So Hudson Hawk, Tommy Five-Tone, Anna, whatever the hell her name is, and George Kaplan are the top 4 guys. Actually, I'll give you the other ones too. Darwin Mayflower and Minerva Mayflower. Hudson Hawk played by Bruce Willis, Tommy Five-Tone played by Danny Aiello, Anna played by Andy McDowell, Kaplan played by James Coburn, and then the Mayflower crazy people played by Richard E. Grant and Sandra Bernhard. I actually wouldn't recast either of the two of them because they're so zany and outlandish and crazy. It made the movie fun. Actually, their scenes were some of the best in the whole movie because it made sense with what was actually going on. But if I had to recast this, the way that I would have done, I probably would have had John Hamm as Bruce Willis if I was doing that now.
I like that because he's done some great comedy stuff lately.
He's funny as hell, and he's obviously he can do action. He's like a strapping, buck kind of dude.
And he's done a lot of good comedy lately too.
The first time I ever saw him was on Scott Aukerman's show back in the day when it was called Comedy Death Ray.
Okay.
And he used to come in and do voices on that show, and he was funny on that show. The Tommy Two-Tone, I would do Joe Mantegna, although Danny Aiello could do it now as far as I'm concerned. He's so good. He's charming as hell in that movie. Andy McDowell, I'd switch out with Renee Russo because I'm in love with her.
And they're almost like the same person in like a certain light.
Yeah. And then for Richard E. Grant, although as much as I wouldn't probably change him out, I would have done Tim Curry. Like Clue, Tim Curry.
That's good.
And then to switch out for Sandra Bernhard, I would probably do Amanda Plummer. If you remember Amanda Plummer from, she was, from...
This is my mistake, not
Pulp
yours.
Fiction. No, Pulp Fiction, she was the crazy one who sticks up the diner. Don't any of you have first movie?
Yeah, vaguely. I got the picture.
Yeah, and then for James Coburn, John Lithgow, just because I think John Lithgow is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that if you kind of mixed it around a little bit and shook it and redid it, I think that would make a really fun movie.
So really, the only fixing you need is like a little bit of a recasting and cutting the first 15 in that last scene.
And the stylizing.
Well, the style, you need Edgar Wright's the key. Him as director is the key because he would have script oversight because the jokes in this movie, some hit and some are so god-awful. Yeah. So it's really... in places. So I think that he, with script oversight and his vision, he would be able to absolutely fix all of that stuff. And the stylize it between the music and then having that kind of comic book feel. I think he would crush it. I think it would be a really fun remake. No one would do it, by the way. No studio would ever put money behind that project.
Right. No,
but I think
again.
It'd be funny as hell.
But you could almost do it but under like a pseudonym. And get away with it, I feel like.
You could do it for cheaper than $65 million.
Oh yeah, these days
like
you could probably.
I don't know unless it was just like,
I feel
Bruce
like
Willis getting 20.
Your guy and the guy who directed the movie that I'm going to talk about, Matthew Vaughn, he would be really good at it as well. I feel like, based on the movie that he did, which
very super stylized and super. Yeah.
You got the Kick-Ass and the Kingsman and everything like that. So.
But I feel like how much did let's take Tag the cast that you recasted with, right? Just pretty much like it sounds like budget wise you could use Tag as like your go-to point. How much did Tag cost to make?
Like the movie Tag?
Yeah.
I actually liked them.
Yeah, I liked
it. Yeah, I loved it too. That's why.
And it couldn't have cost a lot. I mean,
can't
there
imagine.
was a bit of location, which is probably what cost a bit, and then the actors were very well known.
Right.
But
Yeah, I can't imagine that movie costing more than $65 million in today's standard. Like whenever it was released. Yeah. So yeah, you can make Hudson Hawk if you do it under another name with Edgar Wright's vision. You can do it for probably $50 million or less.
I totally think you could, and it would be really fun to see.
So to catch people up that are just walking in, we are talking about movies that we want to fix. Pretty self-explanatory. And we have a Muppet, a puppet. That's awesome. I had one, but my kids ripped the eyes off.
Okay.
Of course. It was awful.
You can still use it.
No, all right. So we just talked. Do you have any more points for Hudson Hawk?
No. I mean, whatever. I could talk. I already have talked about it for 3 hours on a podcast, so I can continue to go if you let me. But no, go ahead.
All right. So, Mike, D'Angelo, let's go with your plugs and introduce yourself and your movie.
Hi, everybody. I am Mike D'Angelo. I am the writer of the Tellest fantasy books. You can find me on Twitter at Tellest, Tellest. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tellest Books. I am going to be talking today about Matthew Vaughn's Kingsman: The Golden Circle. I really, really, really liked the movie, which is why I feel like I can lambast it. Actually, Kingsman: The Golden Circle was the film that got us to the point where we were ready to talk about this kind of podcast.
Right.
That was like the very first one. It was like all it needed was like that one little, and then it would have been.
Which like it's like, man, there's so many movies out there that we always talk about. Like I would do this and that. It took that movie to.
Yeah, it was just that one little thing because the plot of the movie just needed to be like pushed a little bit further,
right?
Or not as far, depending on what parts of the movie you were talking about. Because I did spend some time to kind of figure it out and everything. So first off, I really, really like it. The cast is perfect. There's no one in that cast who I would replace. You got Colin Firth and Taron Egerton who kill it.
He's playing.
He's
Elton John.
And Elton was in The Golden Circle, yes. Which was fantastic. And you didn't get a chance to catch it yet,
no,
right?
So Hudson Hawk was available for free on Crackle. So if you haven't watched it and you want to, based off of Mike's talking of it, I think it's. I need to watch it when I'm fully awake because I think it's a good movie. Okay, I think it's a good movie to watch on a rainy Sunday day or something like that.
Hudson Hawk? Or
yeah. Golden Circle you can't watch for free, so I didn't watch that.
No, not yet.
Not yet. I will. I just couldn't find it on Netflix or anything.
So I mean, it was a Fox film, so maybe that'll be on Disney Plus in November.
Which I am. That's Sunday's discussion, guys.
Was it yesterday that they came out with their?
Yeah, they talked about all the information for it and everything. Simpsons, everything single.
We'll probably be talking about Disney Plus on Sunday's panel at 2 p.m.
You don't want us to talk about it for 20 minutes on this panel?
Yeah. We'll be talking about Disney Plus for sure.
So, all right. So, I already talked about the awesome cast. There's tons of other people who I'll bring up as I'm talking about what needs to be fixed. It's got a really good story, considering what it is. I mean, it's another film that's a parody of other things and everything. It doesn't take itself too seriously, obviously.
No, it definitely doesn't take itself seriously.
And the cinematography is fantastic throughout. Like, it is just this wonderful film that Matthew Vaughn does a great job of picturing everything the way he wants to and everything.
Again, super stylistic.
Very stylistic. I mean, you know his work because you've seen X-Men First Class and everything.
Yeah. I really like First Class. I like Vaughn's work.
I like just about all of his films. And my favorite one that he did, and I don't think a lot of people realize it at first, is Stardust, Neil Gaiman's.
Oh, I've never seen that.
That is like top of the... That is like today's Princess Bride.
Yeah?
Like, that is... Yeah. It's lovely. It's wonderful. I feel like that was like the big Neil Gaiman film. And more of his stuff is coming out, obviously, but that always is going to have a very special place in my heart.
Right.
Yeah. It changes a little bit. And actually, you'll see a lot of his he uses Mark Strong a lot, who's in Stardust as well, and you don't know because you've never seen it.
I know Michelle Pfeiffer's in it, right?
And and Robert De Niro as well.
Okay. I get behind that.
And the Daredevil himself, Charlie Cox.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm sold.
It's really good. It's really good. And actually, Superman.
Cavill.
Yeah.
All right.
You wouldn't recognize him at all.
I'm sold. I'm sold on that movie.
So now that I've talked about how much I like the movie, I have to start kind of tearing it down a little bit.
Let's tear it down.
So, and you haven't seen it, so you're not, but you've seen it, right? You've seen the Golden Circle?
I'm familiar with it. Yeah, it's. I wouldn't say I've committed it to memory, but I have a pretty good idea.
So I'm just going to hit the very final beat, like the main kind of crux of the story. So the whole concept is the Golden Circle is this drug organization that's ruled by Julianne Moore, who they're trying to hold all drug addicts.
She lives in a 50s oasis, right?
Yeah, and this weird. Yeah, it almost looks like something out of Fallout, but like it's been kept up.
No, it's funny. It felt almost like. You ever see the movie Cars? The
yeah.
Car? Like they have that one little enclave in the middle of the desert with all these 50s style things. It kind of felt a little bit like that.
It's very and it doesn't stand out to like everything else. Like everything else in the movie is very now and contemporary and everything, and this is just.
She's just
very
a crazy
retro,
lady
and it almost feels like it was made and it built around Elton John's character. Like that seems like the only place that it fit in.
Yeah, it was a little weird, but it was kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah. But so the whole concept is Julianne Moore is this drug lord essentially, and she's holding all drug addicts hostage with this drug that everyone has been infected with, and they're going to say, all right, we're going to kill everybody unless you pay up. Mm-hmm. But the whole concept is, like, they're drug addicts. Why do we care about them? So the fix is you don't worry about killing the drug addicts. You make it look like they're the ones who are going to be the ones in trouble. And then you've come to find that everybody else is actually sick, and they're almost like the ones who have been inoculated. So, like, you get to see it firsthand, but they don't actually get sick and die. So, like, the president is like the one who's like, let them all die. But
right.
But then the president suddenly gets sick, and they're like, nope, pulled a sneaky on you. You're the one who's going down.
It's like a World War Z thing where you have to like get infected with the disease so that
just
zombies
to live,
don't eat you.
Yeah. So that's for as far as plot goes, that's like the biggest one that you need, and then everything is figured out.
Right.
So then we move on to.
You got notes.
Oh,
dude.
I got notes. So one of the biggest problems was. And you probably know this even without having seen the movie. They spoiled one of the guys who dies in the first movie. He comes back in the second movie.
I mean, I never saw the first movie. I'm not a Kingsman person, but
yeah. So Colin Firth's character Harry comes back.
Yeah,
he gets shot in the face.
Okay.
Like so there's this awesome sequence in the first movie where like everyone's killing each other in a church.
Yeah.
Don't kill people in churches, people. This is just.
It's
an awesome sequence.
Yeah. It's a movie, guys.
It's incredible. Like the cinematography in that movie is absolutely just wonderful as well. And then Samuel Jackson meets Harry outside of the church and just blows him away, one shot. So they bring him back, which is silly in the first place, but they showed.
But he was heavily marketed for the sequel because I do remember the marketing for this movie.
Yes, and Matthew Vaughn was begging for them not to do it, and they were just like, nope, it's fine. It's equivalent to like knowing that Arnie was the good Terminator in. Right? I mean, it's that bad. Like,
right.
You don't do that. Like, you keep it a secret, and then like it lifts people up a little bit.
I try to avoid any media when it comes to movies I want to see.
Especially these days. I'm actually surprised.
I avoid everything.
Marvel, like, they do a great job keeping things down. The only thing is like knowing that Spider-Man is coming back, and they have no control over that. But it's like the same.
Okay, I'm gonna save it for Sunday. I can go on a lot of things about that one, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
So, and then another part of the marketing was you thought that like going into this movie, Channing Tatum was going to be a huge part of it. I mean, he's in all the trailers and everything, and then he gets sidelined along with some of the characters from the first movie. Channing Tatum's in it for like a minute. You find out he's one of the drug users, but like he's a recreational drug user. He's not an abuser. He just uses it recreationally. So he's sidelined right away. Like he's one of the people who's getting sick and needs to like you need to pay the ransom kind of thing, or get the antidote or whatever it is. And then there was an Agent Roxy from the first movie as well, who right off the bat, they just completely wipe her out. And all you need to do for either of them is you bring in another character to be the druggie for Channing Tatum. And for her, you just throw her into a safe room or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if she came back and they kind of retcon that. But
I mean, they have no problem retconning characters dying in that franchise, Mike.
No. So the fourth point, Pedro Pascal, who you didn't even get past the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones, right? We never established that.
I'm in season 3.
So the fourth season he comes in and he's awesome. Yeah. Pedro Pascal, he's been in a lot of stuff. He's going to be the Mandalorian.
Okay.
So the whole thing is Harry, like right from the get-go, knows that Pedro Pascal, who's a good guy, he's Whiskey in this movie, one of the statesmen. He knows right away that he's a bad guy. So he's telling the audience, hey, this guy's going to turn on everyone. And then, like, there's like, no, I'm not going to be a bad guy. But yes, you're a bad guy, and we all know it now because you've told us so.
Right.
You just don't do that. That would fix a lot of problems. And then the last piece is the movie obviously is a parody of itself, but it kind of takes things too far. Like the first movie, everything was pretty solid through, and then they talk to the main character talks to a Swedish princess who says that she'll let him perform anal sex on her out of nowhere in the movie if he saves the world. He saves the world, and then the end credits is him going back and and actually they're together in the second movie. So this one-off character becomes just a big part of the second movie. In fact,
isn't there a reference or two to that also in the movie where they kind of allude to like?
Well, there's
when?
They do something like that, and then the whole thing is like people were complaining about that scene, and they brought it back by way of but like to the extreme because he had to figure out where this girl was going by putting like a tracker on her, but not on her, in her, and not like have a drink. Like he had to put like a condom on his finger,
like this weird finger condom thing.
There's a lot. Okay, that's a lot.
And there was a camera that caught like it wasn't like gratuitous, but like it was grody.
Right.
Now you want to see this movie, right?
No, I want to see it so I can just. I'm already like that's like number one thing for me to change. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it was very out of left field, like even for what it was, and the movie became, I feel like, too self-aware.
Yeah,
I really liked the first one a lot. I was like, Colin Firth, really? He's going to be an action star? Like, come on. And then I watched it, I was like, holy shit, he's an action star.
It did really well.
Right? Like, I was shocked. But the second one, I was like, come on. It just went so... The last 20 minutes of that movie, it's like, it goes so far off the deep end.
Yes.
And then with the third one, they just take it farther.
The third Kingsman?
Yeah.
Well, that's not out yet. The third Kingsman is going to be a prequel, and I think that's coming out next year.
But
I don't know what movie you're talking about, and I want to know.
Now we're interested in that movie.
No. I was thinking that. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
But I want to know what movie you're thinking of.
You need your coffee, sir.
Yeah, well, I haven't finished it yet. I went out and forgot my keys. That's how much I need the coffee. But it almost goes too far.
Yeah, definitely.
In the sense that it. Hudson Hawk does it too, but there's a certain point where like you can suspend disbelief up to a certain point, and then at a certain point you go like, now you're creating like this weird universe, and you've got like new physics involved, and like there's like a whole strange thing that goes on there.
Yeah,
it departed a little too much for my taste from the first one.
Agreed.
Good.
I'm done.
All right, so I'm the host of this panel, and everything is awesome. My name is Kevin Gallagher. The main thing I do is host Everything is Awesome, and then do panels at conventions like this. And I'm going to be talking about Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And I am going to, start with positives. For those that missed it, like we're trying to focus on positives first because we are going to crap on these movies. Here's a hot take for you. Second time I've watched this ever was last night.
Okay.
Right?
I can believe that.
I am shocked at how much I did not hate it last night. I did not hate this movie. I thought I hated it.
That is a hot take.
That's a hot take. All right? A couple things. Here's some facts for you. 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb, 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, and an average of 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which I think is it's all that is deserved. Like it hovers somewhere, for me, about a C movie.
Well, and we've always said it, like, and maybe you went into it thinking this way. As an Indiana Jones movie, not so good, but as a movie by itself, which doesn't take itself seriously.
Right. So here's my positives is that there's a couple Easter eggs that I really like. I think the hat gimmick goes a little too far. They take it too far, but it's still, I like that they reference the fact that the hat means something to him, that he has to always go and rescue the hat or whatever. The arc, of course, is a great thing, which I'm going to touch on in my fixes in just a second. I do think it feels like an Indiana Jones movie. Like if you really watch that movie and look for all the beats that you're looking for in an Indiana Jones movie, the sound effects, the campiness of that character, I guess.
I feel like it feels like a fan-made Indiana Jones movie, though, and that's the problem.
I think that's. I like that. Yeah.
I felt like they were making fun of the genre.
Yeah,
It really
almost.
bothered me.
See,
I honestly, it really bothered me.
And
Like,
reading
I
up-
hate this movie with a passion.
See, I don't. See, I thought I did too, and I don't. Like, I actually, I'm. It makes me excited for a fifth movie for them to get it right. And I'm going to talk more about that when I get to my fixes. The cast is actually amazing for the most part in this movie. Obviously, Harrison Ford. This was 10 years ago, 11 years ago, so he was still kind of youngish.
I feel like they played him older than he was.
Yes, I think they did. He was actually the same age as Sean Connery was for Last Crusade, or older. He may have been even older than Sean Connery was when Sean Connery did Last Crusade. But he's great. I love Karen Allen. I love that they brought her back. I love Kate Blanchett. I love John Hurt in this movie. Like the cast, there's really and their performances are I think okay.
I noticed you didn't mention Shia LaBeouf.
No, I have my negative column still, and I really liked how, spoiler alert, the movie kind of ends on a way where you think that this is the conclusion to Harrison Ford's story as Indiana Jones, with him and Marion getting married. Like that, I didn't realize how much that actually meant to me as a fan of this franchise. Are they?
Nobody wants to hear you guys.
Us in. Oh no!
Are we in Saw? I just felt like now he's gonna shut the door and it's gonna be locked. Good luck getting out, guys.
Reigns of Castamere starts playing.
Let us out. I'm reading this series called The Hatching by Ezekiel Boone. It's a great book series. Read it. They unleash these man-eating spiders is what's going to happen right now. Anyway.
Thanks for that.
so there are my positives. It's not a terrible movie. It's not a good movie, but it's not terrible. Negatives. Okay, nuke the fridge, I think is the obvious one, right?
Yeah.
They lost me in the first 5 minutes.
The CGI gophers, all not great. The openings, once you get to Indiana Jones, the opening does feel like an indie movie. You get to him in Nuketown, USA, and it gets, and having seen the movie before last night, I was like, oh boy, here it is. I forgot it was this early in the movie. So Mutt Williams, what a waste of a character. I don't. Maybe it was because it was Shia playing him.
I refuse to watch it again. But was he as bad as I remember, or was it just certain things that they made him do?
I think it was more script than it was Shia. Now,
I was really excited to have him. This is before he went off the deep end, right?
Right.
So, and I
This
had
might have
known
been
him
because why he went off the deep end.
Shortly thereafter, he went crazy.
But it was there was a lot of movies that he had done up until that point that I really liked him in. I thought
right.
iRobot. I don't know if you ever saw iRobot, where he's the snarky little kid. Even the first Transformer movie. He was fine in. I liked that movie.
As much as I think we all blame Shia LaBeouf for this movie, I don't think it's his fault. But the character of Mutt Williams does not work for me. I know you need a character in that role. I feel like you would have been best to kind of go through the what you know in Indiana Jones and just have the kid sidekick. Yeah. Maybe have him be an adult that's Mutt Williams' age, but I don't know that he needs to be Indy's kid. I don't know that he needs to be terrible. Swinging on the vines is one of my issues with that.
That is the worst part of the movie. I think is the swinging with monkeys.
It was like an '80s video game.
Right.
Because like
you
Jungle
ever play
Hunt.
Pitfall or Pitfall?
Oh yeah, exactly. And I think that actually might even be worse for me than the nuked fridge.
Right. The only thing that's worse than the nuked fridge for me is the fact that this movie leans into the sci-fi and leans into the aliens and the spaceships. It leans into it way too much. And I'll get to it in my fixes. I was not a fan of that. Indiana Jones' disbelief in the supernatural when he's talking with Mutt in the beginning of the film, dude.
Yeah, you found the Ark. You found
you've seen
the
all this
knight who's been alive
stuff.
for thousands of years.
Right, you've seen all this. The threatening of Shia taking over the mantle at the end when he grabs the hat, that was too campy for me. Like, no one wants this kid. Like, you have to feel that as filmmakers, right?
Is that only because you hated him so much that you didn't like that, or you didn't like the device? Because I thought the device itself of the passing of the hat made a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, because here's my thought on. So let's get into my fixes real quick before we have to wrap up here. My fixes for the first easy fix for this movie is that you unfortunately you don't cast Harrison Ford. And I think once you close up this loop with Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones in the 5th movie, you treat this like Batman, you treat this like James Bond. You don't pass the mantle of Indiana Jones. There's just Indiana Jones adventures. They take place in
and we've seen that because they had Young Indiana Jones adventures, they had River Phoenix, and the concept of Indiana Jones is the American James Bond anyway.
Right. So. And I think that's what you do. I think that's what you need to do. I think that would have been a great way one way to fix this movie, because that eliminates Mutt for the most part. I think it would probably eliminate the sci-fi aspects, because I don't think they would go down that road with another Indiana. Like, if you keep it in those like 20s, 30s era, you're not going to go to Roswell, Another quick fix, get rid of the aliens. You could have danced on that with the skulls. You could have had the crystal skulls, just don't have them merge and the skeletons merge into one actual alien. Don't show the spaceship. You can have that pillar they're on collapse without a spaceship. You can have those beams of energy going into Cate Blanchett's head. You can have all that happen. Don't show the actual alien.
Let it's not viewer, like we didn't see Jesus when the Ark of the Covenant.
Right, and you let the viewer kind of, just take it for, maybe this is an alien story. Maybe it's just some sort of weird religious thing.
Yeah.
Which is what Indiana Jones is like, it's weird religious adventures to me.
Yeah. Indiana Jones and his 4th weird religious adventure.
I think that if, we said it earlier, we don't make this an Indiana Jones movie. You call it Billy Joe Goes on the Adventure of a Lifetime and Finds Aliens or something like that. Even Harrison Ford could star in this movie and not be Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And this movie would be great. I would love it.
But mixing that with swinging on vines and giant
no, but you eliminate that
because
you eliminate that. Yeah. You eliminate. You still have to eliminate some of the stuff that I've eliminated already. You eliminate some of that stuff, and you just make this a story with a younger guy in the role, or even an older guy. He could be an older teacher, maybe not as old as Harrison Ford was then, but you're just not making an Indiana Jones movie. And I think it's actually a good story, just not good for Indy.
It almost rolls into what you had the problem with the Hudson Hawk. It felt like 3 different movies kind of tacked together.
Yeah. I go with that.
I think my biggest issue, maybe not my biggest. There's lots of issues I have with that movie, but one of the biggest issues is that I didn't feel like they paid homage to the actual character from the beginning. Like,
agreed.
It was the same issue. My number one fix of this movie is get George Lucas the hell away from it. As far away as possible. Right. Like, he was one of the writers on it and one of the producers, I believe.
Definitely producer.
The hell. Oh, no, I know he was one of the script writers too.
Okay, then he was both.
Get him the hell away from this movie, because we already saw what he did with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, and he has an almost like fan writer quality to him.
I thought that the aliens were like this movie's Jar Jar Binks. It was
it
was really rough, and I really didn't like it. What I loved about the other movies is that they never did introduce aliens. It was always some kind of cool
supernatural religious kind of thing.
And I mean, like the crystal skulls, they really do exist and everything. Like they are part of like real,
You could have spun this movie without aliens.
I was so excited to see the crystal skulls thing because they're real.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't know how they tie together, if they do, or any of that stuff. But I thought a cool story could have been weaved together to bring the crystal skulls together. And aliens was just the wrong way to do it.
And you know what actually would have been a great story, and this is me taking from the Hatching series that I'm reading, because it talks about the Nazca lines, which is part of this movie. Have it be some sort of weird, like, monster movie a little bit, or supernatural movie with supernatural spiders. Like, that would have been awesome, I think. And maybe I'm just in this hatching thing.
You're just into spiders right now.
But, maybe I'm just into spiders right now. But like, that would have been a cool thing to do, I think. And also, here's my final fix. Not Easter egg that arc, right? Make that part of the story. You're at the warehouse where the Ark of the Covenant is at, right? The Russians are asking for a crate. You're setting yourself up for, I think, a great like little side story here that they need this Ark. The Russians need the Ark. That Indy got years and years ago, he got the Ark, he put it away in storage because no one should have it. They want it, not for the same reason the Nazis did. There's some dopey clue. They basically trashed the Ark or whatever. Or maybe
there's something else in the box with the Ark.
They break off a piece of the Ark and they're like, we need this to go find the skull. Yeah. Just use the Ark as a part of your story instead of the alien body that the mummified body. Use the Ark. I think if you incorporate more of the past, because you're doing that already with the nod to that, the nod to the hat, the nod with Marion in the movie, and them getting married. You're nodding to the past already. Why not fully embrace it and make the Ark part of the story? I think if done well, it would have worked. And there's just eliminate I think the mutt thing completely, and I think make it not an Indiana Jones movie is probably the two best things to do.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind the mutt character at all. My number one biggest problem with this movie, outside of the aliens and all that kind of nonsense, was Harrison Ford just phoned it in. Like, he didn't care.
No, I agree.
He didn't care at
We've
all.
discussed that as well, and that's kind of his acting shtick anyway.
For the last 10 years.
For the last, even back in Star Wars, in the original, it's kind of like he's just being
then
him.
It was a laid back cool, right?
Yeah, true.
And then he went on to do like all of the Clear and Present Danger and all those, and he actually
those were a little
regarding
bit of work.
Henry and stuff. He did some really, really good work. And then, like 10 or 15 years ago, he's just like,
I'm bigger than these movies.
It.
Yeah.
All right.
If you want to pay, I guess, for $20 million, I'll do it. You know, like, that kind of stuff. It's crazy. And but the best thing you could have done for this is somehow make him care. And I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah. But I think
and he may have looked at it the same way that we did, and like this is
he's
hot
also
garbage.
the patriarch of this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So if he had cared, Shia LaBeouf would have put in a better performance, and But
there would have been a lot. There would have been more.
Yeah.
All right. So I do want to wrap up before the next con or the next panel can go. Before we go, because there's not that many people in here. Q&A. Is there any movies that you want us to fix, that you would fix, that you want to talk about? People in the audience.
Haven't seen it, and that's how you fix it.
We're giving away 3 movies, so go ahead and we'll just throw those out there. They're all for grabs.
They're all broken now.
The cases are broken. There you go. No. Yeah. Share those with those. All right, guys. This has been Mike from the Recasting Podcast. Recasting Couch. Close enough. I was close. Recasting Couch.
You figured we already have the couch.
Yes,
so.
yeah. That's right. Mike D'Angelo from the world of Tellest. I'm with Everything is Awesome. Make sure you come check us out. We're doing panels for the DCEU tomorrow at 3 p.m. and we're doing a panel on Sunday for Marvel at 2 p.m. at Panel Room 1 right here. So come talk Marvel and DC with us this weekend. It's going to be great. Thanks for coming. Find me on awesomepodcast.com, at ThatNerdyCav, at Tellest, at Recasting.
TheRecastingCouch.com is our website. At RecastingPod is on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. All right. We're going to make room for the next panel. Thanks for coming, guys. It's been great. See you next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Later.
Big thanks to both Mike D'Angelo and Mike from the Recasting Couch podcast for being part of this panel. Movie Fixers was a lot of fun. It was the first time we ever did something like this. It was completely different. In 2018, we did a few panels that were very Marvel, and I think that's it. Just Marvel-centric. I don't know if we got a chance to do our DC panels in 2018. But this was our first non-comic book panel at the Great Philadelphia Comic-Con of 2019. It was a lot of fun to do. It was fun talking about Hudson Hawk, The Kingsman, and Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And hearing all the different ideas to kind of tweak the movie better. I was a little upsetting that we were a little rushed because, we went live when the doors opened, and I think the doors actually opened late, but that's neither here nor there. It was just, I love doing panels, and this one's no different. I think that this is Mike's conception, Movie Fixers, Mike D'Angelo's, and I think we're still working on it to tweak it to be a little bit better. You're going to hear another one of these Movie Fixers in a few weeks. We went live at the Wizard World Comic-Con in 2019 with Dan Scully as our guest, and we all talked about different movies that we would have fixed to make a little bit better. Whether we liked them originally or not is for us to find out when that episode drops. But I think we made some tweaks to better that show, and
and we're going to continue to do the same thing the next time we get to opportunity to do movie fixers, and we'll continue to do that with all our panels. And while 2020 seems like a year we probably won't be doing any panels, I am very hopeful for what the future holds with Everything is Awesome and monitoring panels and putting stuff on for all the Philadelphia conventions, including the Great Philadelphia Comic-Con, Wizard World, who've welcomed us with open arms over the last few years. I hope to get into Keystone Comic-Con and PAX Unplugged as well. They're two, PAX Unplugged especially is one of my favorite cons. So shout out to, I believe his name was Jason from the Great Philadelphia Comic-Con. He was my point of contact there for kind of helping get everything situated. We really dug the room that we were in. I believe it was panel room 1. And it was way more than what we deserved. We had nice couches and chairs and stuff. It was very, very exciting. So I want to get this out here for you guys. We're a few days late in posting it than when I wanted it to. We're still finding our schedule as we get back into posting on a regular basis. We are trying to do new-ish content on Wednesdays. What that's going to consist of is brand new interviews that we conduct throughout the next few weeks and months here, just like we normally would, as well as live shows from 2019. Maybe we'll throw in a sprinkling of other things, and then either on Fridays or Mondays, I haven't decided yet, we're going to be posting from our backlog, which includes interviews with like Garrett Smith from I Like to Movie, Aaron Catano Saez from All My Fantasy Children, and a select few other things that we have in our backlog of podcasts. And I appreciate all you guys for coming back to the show. I appreciate the guests who have been really kind of, understanding about why we didn't post, last year. And of course, I just a shout out to all the future guests who, we've already recorded. Our next show will probably be with Ryan Lauer from the Batman Book Club podcast. It's going to be a cross-promotional thing. I was a guest on his podcast as well. I think they're dropping around the same time. Of course, shout out to Jason Tabris for kind of helping kickstart Everything is Awesome in 2020 here. Before we leave, we like to end Everything is Awesome with a call to action. Super friends, there are a lot of terrible things happening in the world right now. I don't think that has to be said, especially here in 2020 with the COVID-19 crisis that's going on. But it could feel like we can't do anything to help, but we can. If we get together and make a difference by calling our representatives, we can affect change. One of the easiest and most effective ways to action is to call your representatives about issues that are important to you. There are so many issues out there right now. I think the biggest thing right now is when it comes to voting, whether it be, mail-in ballots, whether it be voting rights across the board, whether it be whatever. There are several things. You can find issues like ending corruption and defending voting rights on a site to help you call your reps. And when I call my reps, I use that site, which is called 5calls.org. That's the number 5calls.org. There, you'll find issue summaries for the issues that are important to you, contact information for your representatives, and a script to read while you're on the phone to make sure your message gets across. Calling is quick, easy, and is one of the most effective ways for you to have your voice heard. And in 2020, it's a big election year, and if you are in a state that offers mail-in absentee ballots with everything that's going on right now, I highly recommend that you register for that. If you're in Pennsylvania, where we're based out of, the deadline for that has already passed. But if you're in another state and the deadline has not passed, please make sure you do it. It's so important, especially if you have a fear of leaving and going to a public place like a voting station for, during this COVID-19 pandemic here. An absentee ballot's the best way to have your vote count. And this is, again, a big election year. If we want to see things, I think, move in a better direction, we need to make some changes. So whoever you're going to vote for, it is your right to vote, and make sure you have that right to vote. Check your voter registration. Make sure you haven't been purged out. And if you're able to do mail-in absentee ballots, especially this year, it's the year to do it if you think you're not going to be able to make it out to the polls. So please check all that. And I just want to thank everyone. I just want to thank all our supporters on patreon.com/thatnerdykev and ko-fi.com/thatnerdykev. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to bring this awesome episode to you. If you want to support us in a non-monetary way, word of mouth recommendations and 5-star rating and reviews on Apple Podcasts are the best ways to spread the good word of awesome. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at RealAwesomePod or on Instagram at AwesomePodcast. We're available on awesomepodcast.com or thatentertains.com/network. Get news about everything is awesome from our website, social media accounts, or my personal Twitter at thatnerdykev. If you're interested in ad rates, live appearances, help with your podcast, or have a question or comment, email us at awesome@crudehammerstudios.com. Everything is Awesome is a production of That's Entertainment Podcast Network in association with Crude Humor Studios. Crude Humor Studios is a Philadelphia-based production company specializing in audio, video, and live performances. You can find more information at crudehumorstudios.com. Thanks for listening, Super Friends. We've been awesome. This episode of Everything is Awesome is brought to you by Tellus. Tellus is a fantasy world created by Michael D'Angelo. Spanning 15 novels and novellas, Tellus is a place of magic and splendor, where great heroes fight for the people. Some of these heroes are blessed with the strain, granting them uncanny abilities. The Tellus universe is medieval superhero fantasy with steampunk elements that mix with several different mythologies. With so much to choose from, the world is in your hands. Get more information, purchase the books, and discover the world of Tellus at Tellus.com.
That's Entertainment Podcast Network. Entertainment and culture. Artist-owned, fan-supported.